So today we're going to go over 8.4 and 8.5. You also have the Delta Math videos you can watch that the other teacher has made. So you have lots of ways to get these notes. But since you're in here with me, I'm going to do them together. So the Pythagorean theorem is essentially what? Can you guys recite it for me? A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Correct. Okay, so we're going to have two triangles in number one. One of them only has one leg that we know, and the other triangle has two. So which triangle are we going to start with to try to solve? Hint, hint, the one with the more,
Yeah,
2 and 3. So the bigger triangle, right? So we know this is a right triangle. We know 3 is called the what? The hypotenuse. 2 is the leg. So we're going to put 3 in for C since it's the hypotenuse. So 3 squared equals 2 squared plus, we'll just call this B squared, right? Okay, so now we can solve for this. We're solving for this, right? Right here. So B squared equals 3 squared minus 2 squared. So that's going to be 9 minus 4, which is 5. So B equals the square root of 5. Does that seem right to everybody? Okay. I didn't make any errors there. Okay, so now how are we going to find X, if that's really what we want to find down here? We know this is the square root of 5. Same way, right? So now you have another Pythagorean theorem. We have 2, which is on the smaller triangle, what? It is a hypotenuse or a leg? A leg. And we have square root of 5, which is the hypotenuse. So we could do the square root of 5 squared, I'm starting with a hypotenuse, or C squared, equals 2 squared plus, I'm going to just call that X, not B squared. So we're actually solving for our X now. So X squared, right? We're using still the Pythagorean theorem. Taking the square of a square root gives us what? Square root of 5 squared is 5. It's just that number. So 5 equals 2 to the second power is 4 plus X squared. So X squared is going to equal 5 minus 4. Have I lost anybody? Which is 1. So X is going to equal, I'm going to erase this, the square root of 1, which is 1, right? So you do have a plus or minus there when you take a square root, because we're dealing with actual numbers that have to be positive. We're going to only accept the 1, right? Okay, so X equals 1. Final answer. Does that kind of make sense? Okay. Over here we have what I see is 3 different triangles. We have the very top triangle, if you think of this as being a house on number 2. 6 and 6 are sides that are equal. So we have, what kind of triangle is this? We have 2 legs that are equal. Isosceles, right? Okay. And then down here, we're trying to find this X. Okay. So we have a right angle. So we have these legs. 6 squared plus 6 squared equals, I'm going to call this our C squared, right? So
72.
Yep, 72 equals C squared, or C equals the square root of 72. I'm going to use my calculator, see if that simplifies at all, and it does. So that is 6 square roots of 2. If you just use these yellow calculators, they do a really good job of simplifying your radicals. Okay, so if we know this is what C equals, and we want to find X, do you guys think that this is a rectangle, right? And this is the diagonal of that. If this is a rectangle, this is also X, right? So this should also be 6 square roots of 2, because these are similar triangles. So finding X, you can go ahead and say that's a leg. We know one leg and the other leg. So or the hypotenuse. So we have the hypotenuse is 10, right? So we're going to do 10 squared equals 6 square roots of 2. Well, it might be better this time to just leave that in the form of the square root of 72 because you can see it better. So let's do that. Square root of 72 squared. And then plus x squared because that's what we're trying to solve for. Okay, have I lost anybody? Okay, so let's just solve these things. 10 squared is? Yep. Square root of 72 squared is? 72 plus x squared. So x squared is going to equal 100 minus 72, which is 28. Or x is going to equal the square root of 28, which I believe can simplify. So second square root of 28 is 2 square roots of 7. Okay, so that is your final answer for x. Keep it in radical form, right? So use these calculators. They're going to help you. Does 1 and 2 make sense to everybody so far? No questions? Okay. So we are looking for x. X is right here. We have two sides that are equal, but this is not helpful. But what could we draw? We could draw a little, if I could do that well on this thing, going to connect that edge, right? So we have two triangles. Let me try to do a better job than that. Once you've split that up, split that picture up, okay? Does that make sense? So we have a triangle that's a right triangle with two legs, 1, 6 to this. Once we find this length, then we can find x. Does that make sense? So it's like a two-step, multi-step Pythagorean theorem. So 1 squared plus 6 squared equals c squared. So you have 1 plus 36 equals c squared. Or c squared equals 37, or c equals the square root of 37. So we know this is the square root of 37. Now how are we going to figure out the x? We have the two legs, right? So 6 squared plus the square root of 37 squared equals... Actually, I don't think that's going to work for us. Okay, so we figured that out. Because that is not any longer a right triangle, so let me think.
Are you serious?
What?
You gotta erase that now?
Yeah, I'm going to erase it now. I got to think for a second. Okay, so I messed up on this because when I drew this line, this is not a right triangle. But guess what? This is the line we want to draw. We want to draw a line that is perpendicular here and splits this into the side is 6. It's the same length because we made a rectangle there. And this is worth 1, so this is worth 5. So now we have a nice triangle to solve. We're not using this. This is going to be 6 squared plus 5 squared equals x squared. So that's 36 plus 25, which is 61 equals x squared, or x equals the square root of 61, which is just the square root of 61. When you round that to the decimal, hit that little arrow back and forth above the enter button on the yellow calculators, you get x is equal to 7.8.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay, so this is level 2. It's going to make us do a lot more in-depth things. So we have a kite, and we know that AC is perpendicular to DB. Calculate AC to the nearest tenth of a centimeter. So we have 6, 7, and ooh, guys, you should be acting like that's awesome. 6, 7 to AC. But we're going to have to figure out this little guy first, and this guy, right? Okay. Okay, so what my brain wasn't seeing is this is worth, and it's segmented into 2 equal parts, so each of these is 5 and 5. So now you have the 2 triangles that you can solve for. You can figure out what this length is and then what this length is going from there, right? You know 2 sides of each triangle. This is also 6. This is also 7 because it's a kite. Okay, so now you have 7 squared plus 5 squared. Nope, I did that wrong. 7 squared equals 5 squared plus b squared. And we can solve for that. It's 49 minus 25. It's 24, so second square root of 24 is equal to 2 square roots of 6. Okay, so b equals 2 square roots of 6. If that equals 2 square roots of 6, we can figure out what 10 is. So 6 squared equals 5 squared plus b squared. Second triangle. So b squared equals 6 squared minus 5 squared, which is almost the same. 36 minus 25. 11. So b equals the square root of 11. So we know these two, we can add them together, right? So AC is going to equal 2 square roots of 6 plus the square root of 11. It wants it to the nearest tenth of a centimeter, so just put that in your calculator. 2 second square root of 6. Plus the square root of 11. It takes me a while to type this myself. That is going to be 8.2 approximately to the nearest centimeter. 8.2 centimeters. Okay, let's look at number 2. We have a straw that's going from the diagonal of this rectangular box. We know it's 3, 6, and 8. If the straw fits exactly into the box diagonally from the left top back to the top right back, how long is the straw? Okay. So the way I look at it is you're looking at this triangle. That's right here. I know. Then this is also 8. So this is 8. We don't know what this is, but we know this. So let's look at this little triangle to figure out what this side is. So we have 3 squared plus 6 squared equals c squared, or c squared equals 9 plus 36. 9 plus 36 is 45, or the square root of 45. Okay, I'm just going to leave it like that. Square root of 45. We've got that one. So if that's the square root of 45, then what is this? We have 8, 45, and we have our hypotenuse. So c squared is equal to 8 squared plus 45, square root of 45 squared, which is 64 plus 45, right? 64 plus 45, which is 109. Okay, so the straw should be the square root of 109, which is just the square root of 109. Leave it in radical form. That is our final answer.